Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Brent Venables, the Oklahoma Sooners, going on the road to play Alabama. Now, look, is there a reason that Alabama is a touchdown favorite at home? Yeah, absolutely. I don't think many Oklahoma fans that follow this sport closely disagree with the line that we're getting from Vegas. Why do I have confidence that Oklahoma can go on the road and not only keep this one close? Like, well, what makes me think Oklahoma can go on the road and get the job done? When you're predicting an upset in this sport, there's normally two different reasons why. Number one is you just don't think the team that's favored is as good as the public thinks. This ain't one of those situations. I'm actually a firm believer in Alabama. They look to be one of the best teams in the entire country in the back half of November. The reason I like Oklahoma here, man, it's a uniquely good matchup where you look at the team, specifically the defenses that have given Alabama some problems. They all had one thing in common: their ability to get after the quarterback. Ty Simpson has looked to be one of the best quarterbacks in the country. In fact, I think he is one of the best quarterbacks in the country. But when you see Ty Simpson struggle, it's from teams that can impact him, get him off his spot. Well, what I'll say here is that there's not a team across the country that is better at making a quarterback uncomfortable than Oklahoma. What happens if Oklahoma can go on the road and really impact Ty Simpson? They got a chance. It's a uniquely good matchup, and you combine with that with Oklahoma coming off a bye. Maybe you get John Mateer in this Oklahoma offense a little bit more rolling. There's reasons to believe, and I want to take a deeper dive into this football game before we do. And as always, Oklahoma fans, and heck, even if Alabama fans be listening, let it fly in the comment section. I would love to hear from the Alabama fans how they're feeling heading into this matchup. Y'all let it fly. Appreciate you guys. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. And without further ado, let's get into it. Now, the best way for me to put this is Alabama's offense. It's a one pitch team. I'm not a huge baseball guy, but we know certain pitchers that only throw gas, baby. That's the one pitch they have, and it's a dominant pitch, but it's the one pitch they have. It's a little one dimensional. That to me feels like what Alabama is. Now, that fastball that Alabama has, that passing attack is heck, it's one of the most dynamic passing attacks you see in the game, right? You have elite wide receivers with a very good quarterback. And to couple that, it's an offensive line that has taken some significant steps holding up in pass protection. The issue I see here with Alabama, or the potential issue, the concern if I'm Kalen DeBoer, if I'm an Alabama fan, do we really want to drop back and throw the football 40 to 50 times in this matchup? You don't want to be in that situation against Brent Venables and the way this team can get after the passer, whether it's with their front four, whether it's when they're blitzing, because there's not a program in the country that's better getting after the quarterback. Alabama comes into this matchup averaging 3.5 yards per carry. That is 111th in the country. They haven't really been able to run the football against anybody. Heck, they haven't really tried over the last month and a half. They throw the football 55% of the time. That's 28th most in the country. This is proven to be a one-dimensional offense. And when I look at it, is this the game where Alabama all of a sudden starts running the football against an Oklahoma defense that grades out as the number one rushing defense in the country? No, I think it's fair to say going into this matchup that probably going to be one-dimensional. Probably going to be trying to throw the football, because I would be stunned, and I think Kalen DeBoer would be stunned if Alabama's rushing attack all of a sudden comes alive against this Oklahoma defense. So then you start looking at the passing attack, and the reason I have this depth chart up is I want to highlight some players that I think really need to play their best football for Oklahoma. Number one, the blitz packages. Ty Simpson is a 70% completion percentage guy heading into this matchup. When blitzed, that completion percentage drops to around 59%. Well, guess what Oklahoma loves to do? They love to send pressure. And quite frankly, this is an Oklahoma defense that they can get pressure with their front four. They're also really good at dialing up blitzes. I'm looking at I mean, and here's the question that I think a lot of Oklahoma fans have is, hey, if our Mason Thomas is either not playing or not 100%, can that Oklahoma pass rush have the same bite? This is the fundamental reason why I'm a believer in this Oklahoma defense in general. Is they got so many different guys that can get after. There are so many different defenses in this conference that feel really one dimensional on one or two players. You look at a team like South Carolina, it's really one dimensional on Dylan Stewart. You look at a team like Missouri, feels really one dimensional on Zion Young, Damon Wilson. Oklahoma, who has the best pass rush in this conference, they're not one dimensional. They're not two dimensional. They are multi-dimensional and can generate pressure from all along that front seven. The reason I say front seven is you're not going to find many linebacker rooms that are better blitzing the quarterback than Oklahoma, right? And so you have a guy like Taylor Wean. I mean, this kid, I going into the season, I didn't even have him listed in the two deep on our depth chart. By far the second best edge defender that Oklahoma has. Danny Okoye, that's a guy that is trending up. And to me, that's a guy that needs to play his best football. But then I look at the inside and say their ability to generate pressure with their interior defensive line, specifically Grayson Halton, specifically David Stone, it's elite. And that's the reason I like this Oklahoma defensive line, how deep they are. They can play Jaden Jackson and Dominic Williams, those really heavy bodies who are good against the run, can play them on first and second down, stop the run. Then you trot out a fresh Grayson Halton. Then you trot out a fresh David Stone on third and long to get after the passer. They can get after it in so many different ways. And if you can get after Ty Simpson, we have seen, and the numbers back it up, that he does not play his best football. You look at the 3 games, and out of the 9 games, Ty Simpson's average yards per attempt, let me say that better, has only been below 7 yards 3 different times. It was against Florida State, who blitzed the heck out of him. It was against South Carolina, and it was against Missouri. What do those two teams have in common in SEC play? Elite ability to get after the passer. I think Oklahoma has that ability. That's where it starts. Now, the second part of this, I will say this. If Oklahoma is going to want to bring pressure, this is the best wide receiver room they've seen, right? Got to trust Cortland Guillory. Got to trust Eli Bowen. Got to trust this back end to win one-on-one matchups. That's the thing. It's a math game, right? When you're going to bring 6 guys on the blitz, you're going to have some one-on-one matchups on the outside. Can you hold up? If you can, you put yourself in a good spot. The bigger question is, can Oklahoma score enough points, right? And because this has been an Oklahoma offense that just has not felt the same. John Mateer has not felt the same since September, since before the injury. How about this coming off a bye? Can we get a Ben Arbuckle legacy game? Go back to the reasons why I believed in this team back in August. One of them was significant upgrade at the offensive coordinator spot. Oklahoma had 2 weeks to prepare for this one, and you best believe those 2 weeks were prepared on going on the road and beating this Alabama defense. They weren't prepping for anything else. Does Ben Arbuckle have 20 plays, those first 2 drives? Does he have some answers for this Alabama defense? Does Ben Arbuckle's game plan, having 2 weeks to prepare and build for it, can it be elite? Can Ben Arbuckle go out and scheme you up some points on the offensive side of the football? This is the advantage of having a creative and what I think is a very good offensive coordinator. The last one is this. John Mateer, and I think the best way to say this is Oklahoma can't go on the road and beat Alabama if they do not get what I would say is vintage or September John Mateer, right? This is not a team you can beat if you don't get good quarterback play. At least that's the way I see it. Does John Mateer look like? Does he have that playmaking ability? Because you best believe this Alabama defense is pretty damn good. Everybody talks about Ty Simpson, the passing guy. This is a very, very solid Alabama defense. I don't know if Oklahoma is going to go up and down the field in Alabama on the road. To me, it feels very, very similar to what it looked like against Michigan. That's kind of what the Oklahoma fans should want, at least in my opinion, where, it might not be super efficient. It might not be super consistent, but can we rely on John Mateer to have those 5, 6, 7 plays that can blow this thing open, that can change the game, because that's what happened against Michigan. Now, Michigan's offense just couldn't do squat against this Oklahoma defense. I would know, I'm a Michigan fan. John Mateer, I mean, in that game, John Mateer pulled rabbits out of his hat. And that's the quarterback you knew you were getting from Washington State. You feel like you need that version of John Mateer in this game. I don't need it to be consistent. Can I get it to be explosive? Can we come up with 5 or 6 plays that can fundamentally change this game on offense? Because I trust this Oklahoma defense. I think this Oklahoma defense can give Alabama some problems. We'll see. This one's a really fun one, and going back to how we talked about Oklahoma in the preseason. When you have a defense the way Oklahoma plays defense, and you have a quarterback like John Mateer, gosh darn it, you're going to have a chance to win every single game. But you need that defense to play the way we know it can play, and you need John Mateer to get back to form. And if you get those two things, this game's going to be really, really good. Can you make a play or two in the fourth quarter? I'm so fired up for this one. 2 of the best teams in the country going head to head. Very excited. Appreciate you guys. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel, and we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.